thank Economic Times for having given us this opportunity to speak to all of you. It's a proud privilege to be part of this small community here, which is focused on how to take the nation forward on this very, very important sector. All of us are, I think the chairman of the JNPT, Mr. Manoj, all of them have spoken in great detail about the importance of the maritime sector. There is no, two words about it. I think, we all agree with the fact that this is a very foundational sector. It actually affects the competitiveness and the efficiency of the industry. So, gathering like this, in frequent intervals, is very important for all of us to brainstorm collectively on what happens and ensure that all the stakeholders do their piece to enable us to get there. Now, for several years, I think, all of us know, I think the reforms that the Indian government of India have been doing have actually picked up pace. And the reforms started in 91, but I guess the last 10 years have been very, very exciting for all of us, I think, in the sense that I think the pace of reforms have picked up. The depth of reforms also have increased drastically. But I guess this work, it is work in progress, and a lot of ground needs to be covered, I think, going forward. I think if you look at the achievements of the last 10 years, some of them are very, very foundational, I think, in the sense that very, very foundational things like, say, keeping inflation under control have been achieved, I think, because unless inflation is kept under control, whatever the businessmen do, I think, will turn to dust if inflation eats away the very next day morning, I think. So therefore, keeping inflation under control through flexible inflation targeting has been a very foundational reform. And I guess that gives a lot of confidence for the investors to put more money on the table. And I see that happening going forward. The second foundational reform has been in the financial sector. The financial sector reforms, including cleaning up the banks, cleaning up the insurance companies, etc., have actually paid off very well. I think if you look at the NPA percentages that have actually were in the regions of 12%, on all the balance sheets of the banks, now come to almost like a percentage or so. So, which means that I think the work that the government of India have done have actually delivered, I think, in terms of results. The third piece of reform is actually the markets, the capital markets. Because if any business wants to do business, then obviously it has to raise money. For raising money, I think the markets have to be very efficient. So for that, the financial sector reforms in the capital markets have actually also helped a lot. Today, I think the amounts of money that the companies raise in the capital markets have actually gone through the roof. I think all this has proved that there is greater trust in the markets. There are more and more people, foreign portfolio investors, Indian investors who are coming to the table. The last, to me, the most significant reform that has happened has been the financial inclusion reforms, because no nation can hope to go forward unless the bottom of the pyramid also marches along with the top. So therefore, the financial inclusion reforms that have actually been implemented, it includes the 540 million people who have been given bank accounts, connecting them with the formal financial ecosystem. All this, I think, may to this community appear to be unconnected. But to me, when I take a macro view, these are the people who probably in another 10 years, 20 years from now will start, they have already started saving, they will soon be investing in the capital markets, they will probably be investing the next wave of investments in this country. And let me say, I think these 540 million people, their bank accounts have $30 billion, I think. So, so it's not a small sum of money, I think, to say that. So this $30 billion may well become $3 trillion maybe in another 10, 20, 30 years. So the point I'm trying to say is that a lot of capital that is required by the entire industry will come from within the country. Now, the Honorable Prime Minister's vision has now turned, from the rear view mirror, I think let's look through the windshield on what we see in the next 25 years. So the Honorable Prime Minister has now thrown a challenge to the nation in the form of the Viksit Bharat at 2047. A very important, I think, mission, a very difficult, challenging, and I think, ambitious task. So it is for every citizen in this country, every industry body, every regulator in this country, every ministry to actually engage itself very deeply in this entire exercise. So I see that as a very exciting 25 years ahead, and I'm sure that I think if we do all the things right, today, I think probably the seeds will start sprouting in a few years and maybe become a large, I think trees maybe in 25 years' time. So if you look at the shipping industry, I don't have to take coal to Newcastle. I think you are better placed to actually talk about those kind of issues. But let me say that I think the vision for 2047 if you look at the 3-4 pillars on which it is premised, one of them is infrastructure. I think India is building a lot of infrastructure, but I think it requires probably 10 times the same kind of infrastructure in various ways. I used to be a member of a task force called the National Infrastructure Pipeline in the Department of Economic Affairs some 5-6 years ago. And we put out a report on what is required for the country in various sectors of infrastructure. So the estimate was about something like $4.5 trillion over the next 10-15 years, which I think is very important. This year, I think the finance minister has laid out about $130 billion on the capex program. And I'm sure that a lot of that will go into infrastructure programs like the Vadavan port and so on and so forth. So we will see a lot of that happening. The second important piece is technology. I think if 2047 needs to happen, then technology has to be there on the table. I think we are already doing a lot of technology. In my last job as Secretary Telecom, I think, which I held till last year, we have done a lot of foundational work on investing in the R&D of companies. Because unless we invest in research and development, support the private sector to come out with new generation technology, we will not be there. So today we have a India 4G stack. India, we have a 5G stack. We soon see all this happening in many other sectors as well, I think. So putting money on the table for technology is absolutely important. The third pillar will be talent. We have a lot of talent, especially my friends in the shipping industry know very well. I think everywhere, wherever you go to Athens or you go to Norway, I think there will be some Indian on the table who will be either owning a ship or leasing ships from there or probably managing fleets from there and so on and so forth. So the Indian talent is already there. But how do we get them to the next level is the question. Now, if you look at where the world is going, I think, I would say that, the new technologies like green shipping and so on and so forth is coming up. So I guess maybe we need to put more money on the table on technology as well. So if you look at what are the opportunities for India, I think that's something which is very important for us to say. I was in Norway recently, I think as part of a Scandinavian expedition of ours for the International Financial Center to meet some of the financial sector companies there. So one of the things which people tell me, I think, is that a low-hanging fruit is ship repair, I think, because we are already there in ship breaking, right? But ship repair is a big thing. Today, even I think many ships are going to maybe Singapore or maybe Hong Kong and many other countries for repairs. I think we should get them done here in our country, I think. So there's a great opportunity for ship repair, which I think is a lower hanging fruit than shipbuilding. Shipbuilding is something which must certainly do. We have already a lot of skills. Ship design is another thing. Today, if you look at the electronics industry or the chip design industry, I think the entire fabulous design of the world's best chips are made in India. I think the fabrication may not be in India. Very soon, probably that also will happen out of your semiconductor fabs. But the design of these ships are made in India. So I think we should have the world's best ship design companies in India. I think probably that can be done very easily because we are very strong in IT. We have all the brains in the world, etc., etc. So I think that is something we should work on. And of course, we should also work on green shipping and so on and so forth. So what is our path forward? I think the path forward to me, business as usual is not going to get you there. I think if you're going to do the same things, do incremental changes, etc., etc., we are not going to get there. So we need to do very, very disruptive things. The first thing to me is deregulation or reducing the burden of regulation on the industry. I think it's very, very important because from my experience on what the government has done in many of the sectors, cutting away layers of regulation and making things simpler for the industry is very important. And this aligns with the Honorable Prime Minister's vision on ease of doing business. And we'll see a lot of things happening on making the new age law, replacing old colonial laws with the new laws, new regulations. Perhaps adopt a clean slate approach, as some of my friends just told me, I think, during my discussions before this meeting. Second thing is that please benchmark yourself to the best in the world. I think we may have a port, we may have a logistics company. Let us have our KPIs benchmarked to the best in the world. No, we cannot be lesser than the best in the world, both in terms of ease of doing business as well as cost of doing business. Third thing I would say is reduce the cost of capital. And that's what IFSCA is doing. I am from the International Financial Services Center. So the effort that we are trying to do is to see how we can reduce the cost of capital for companies in raising money for buying ships or running ships. So we will be very happy to support you. I think the International Financial Services Center Authority is sitting in the GIFT City, the western state of Gujarat. We've already covered a lot of ground. There are several leasing companies, even from the top company, the Mitsui OSK has got a leasing arm there, ArcelorMittal, Adani, and maybe companies like Reliance, they all have opened their leasing arms here. So I'm sure that very many we will soon be a leasing hub, that's for sure. but we also want to be a finance hub for Indian companies, because our goal is to enable higher ownership of ships, from India. I think we want Indian companies, foreign companies to own ships out of India, not just lease. I think maybe leasing is a low-hanging fruit. So we have at least about 14 international banking units in GIFT City, which include the likes of, I think very soon a large number of these ship finance based banks also are planning to open up their banking units in GIFT City. So I look forward to active interaction with the industry here. Let me also end by saying that IFSCA has followed a different approach. We have followed a clean slate approach while writing our regulations. We didn't copy or cut and paste domestic regulations, which are probably archaic. So what we looked at is, what Singapore does, Hong Kong does, Dubai does, and we have written up our regulations on a principle-based approach. So we hope to do that going forward. We look forward to active interaction with you and also learning from you. Our team, Mr. Ashutosh, who is our CGM in charge of ship leasing, is here. So we'll be happy to take this conversation forward and see how we can help you to become global champions. Thank you very much.